Here to take us through the French newspapers is Florence Villeminot. Hello, Florence.
Hi,
We're going to start off with Franco-German relations. They're getting a lot of attention in the press today, particularly in Libération.
That's right. There's a very menacing photo of Angela Merkel on the cover, and it says Achtung, so warning. That's coming from Berlin to Paris. Now, Libération points out that there seems to be this growing distrust that's coming from Germany with regards to France's economic policies. And it seems that, according to Libération, this has been going on for quite some time, but now German advisors and top officials aren't hiding it anymore. They're being very outspoken about the fact that they don't trust France's economic policies. For instance, Libération says that several very high advisors to the Angela Merkel have called France the Eurozone's biggest problem and say that France could be a threat to Europe as a whole. Now, a lot of people within Germany are saying that the reforms that the French government has put in place so far aren't enough. They need to go further. They need to go further, for instance, in terms of spending cuts, etc. And in their editorial, Libération points out that this distrust of France seems to be kind of a trend in Europe. For instance, just a couple of months after the presidential election, David Cameron said that he would roll out the red carpet for any companies that wanted to flee France's high tax rate, the 75% tax rate. Libération says this is something that France can brush off, but this growing distrust that's coming from Germany is very serious, and it's a problem for France and a problem that France needs to address. And Libération says that France and Germany need each other. They need to work together to save the euro from the crisis.
Now, François Hollande is going to get a chance to explain or present his reforms at a press conference tomorrow, isn't he?
That's right, and this is on the front page of the business daily Les Echos. It wonders, just why does François Hollande have to explain himself? Why does he have to justify these reforms? Now, the paper points out that what he's trying to do is point out that he's on course, that he's in charge regarding these reforms. So what he's going to talk about are, for instance, these latest economic reforms that regard competitiveness, plans to reduce the cost of labor for employers, to cut government spending. Also, the latest reform on marriage equality for homosexuals. François Hollande said that he had planned on giving these press conferences about every 6 months to explain where his reforms are at. And he wants to paint this picture of himself as a reformer, but he's been very keen to point out that this is not the turning point in his 5-year term so far. Now, meanwhile, Le Figaro, the right-leaning newspaper, is looking at what's going on within the opposition, the UMP, because in 6 days, the UMP is going to elect their new leader. Now, the two front-runners are, and there you see a photo of both of them. On the left, you have François Fillon, the former Prime Minister. On the right, you have the current leader, Jean-François Copé. Now, both of them have been stepping up their campaign. They've had interviews in papers recently where they've been lashing out at each other. But Le Figaro points out that one person that's also making a comeback within the UMP is Nicolas Sarkozy. According to a recent poll, 65% of UMP voters want to see him come back into French politics. They want to see him run again for president in 2017. And it's interesting to note that this is a 10-point increase from the last time they asked UMP voters back in August. So he's making a big comeback within the UMP right now.
Wow, we'll have to see what happens there then. We're going to stay with the Figaro. It's also looking at the situation in northern Mali and the role that French special forces could play in an intervention there.
That's right. This comes after ECOWAS decided that they want to have an intervention in Mali. Now, there was a lot of debate as to whether French forces would actively play a part in this. Turns out that Le Figaro says that French special forces are likely going to train African forces. And inside, there's an interesting interview that Le Figaro has with the Nigerian president, Mamadou Issoufou, and he says that the situation is critical, and he calls on this intervention to happen as soon as possible. And he says that it's important not only for Mali, for the region as in general, and especially for Niger. Now, he'll be meeting with François Hollande in Paris tomorrow. But coming back to the French Special Forces, Le Figaro has an in-depth article in just where they are, what do they do. This comes because it's their 20th year anniversary this year. The article is very patriotic, though.
Okay, we're going to end with a quick look at reactions to that scandal in the US with General Petraeus.
That's right. It's in Libération, and just a quote, because I think it says a lot about how French people view what's going on there. It says that the 3 women, a general, and a badly kept secret, it's a classic vaudeville tale that's brought down the most talented general in the United States. So that pretty much sums up how French media is reacting to the scandal there.
He's accused of having an affair, isn't he?
Accused of having an affair, that's right.
He admitted to having an affair.
Admitted to having an affair. The general consensus is the affair probably happens all the time in France, but it probably wouldn't bring down the top advisor like that. Remains to be seen, though.
All right, thank you very much, Florence, for taking us through the French press.